we see that increase of competition out there. And having that well-defined approach will not only help you deliver consistent value, but also position you as a trusted rep. And so this past year in 2025, that we've seen that the reps that have that consistent process are driving more growth in their businesses. All right, so today, as far as our agenda goes, we don't really have a structured agenda. It's really, like I said at the beginning, a time for you to ask your questions. And I have a very special guest that I'd like to introduce you to in just a moment here. But first, before I go and I introduce you to our special guest, I would like to revisit what we're talking about when we're talking about our CAR process and a structured CAR process. So a couple of years ago, we rolled out as Country Financial a new client annual review process. It was time that we needed to modernize our approach, how we're approaching our client annual reviews, the duration of our annual reviews. So here's what that 4-step process looks like. The first step is schedule the client annual review. So whether you're having a team member in your office schedule those, but maybe you're calling and scheduling those reviews. You could be having MCC, the Marketing Contact Center, or BeatFile even. That is something that you really need to take a look at as we're moving into 2026 to have a firm strategy on how you're actually getting those butts in your seats for the reviews. The second step is prepare for that client review. And we know that's crucial. That's a crucial step. Make sure that you're going in, looking at the coverages prior to your client's coverages prior to them coming in, and get prepared for the review. That third step is conducting, and then the last step, which is also crucial, is that follow-up after the meeting. So the CAR meeting is meant to be a 30-minute meeting with your client, and it's looking at what is going through this 4-step process. All right. So as I mentioned, we do have a very special guest with us today, and we are happy to welcome Harrison Martin. He's our district leader of our Southern Nevada district. He was a country rep. He started back in 2019 as a rep in Phoenix, and he built his team to have 5 full-time staff. 2 years ago, he transitioned into the district leader role, and he has had such great success. He's had 6 for 6 All-Americans, 6 for 6 All-Stars. He has his master's in business administration, and over the last year, he'll tell us that he's really seen his district pivot and adopt the new CAR process and have a lot of success. If you look at his district numbers right now, they're over 100% as far as conducted and scheduled. So congratulations, Harrison. You're really fortunate to have you with us today. So welcome, and I'll turn it over to you.
Well, super excited to be here with everyone today to kind of talk about the client annual review process. I'm hoping for those of you who are on this call today that maybe aren't a big fan of the CAR process or don't think it works super well, I'm hoping that at the end of today's conversation, you're deciding to take a second look at it, willing to kind of look back at that CAR process, see how you can maybe kind of improve what you've been doing. For those of you who have been using the CAR process and had some success using it so far, I'm hoping that today will give you some deeper knowledge, give you some more education. I'm a big believer in learning something we do, not something we've done. So hopefully you're going to be able to learn something new. But ultimately, for everyone on this call today, I think Kristen said it earlier, but 2026 is a month and a half away, and it's time to start kind of planning for our business plan, what 2026 is going to look like. And I know everyone's had that meeting with their agency learning specialist, go through the business plan of how to kind of start building that out. And I do believe the CAR process has to be included in your 2026 business planning. So reach out to your PL or your agency learning specialist if you haven't started doing that 2026 business plan. But make sure the CAR process is part of it, because it's huge here in Southern Nevada and made such an impact for a lot of our reps here. So excited to be here, excited to jump into some more questions.
Hey, Christy, there you go.
I'm on mute. Yes, great way to start the session. All right, thank you so much, Harrison. Okay, so we're gonna start the Q&A portion of our session here. I'm gonna kick off with a question here for Harrison, but we'd love to see your questions. So top of the toolbar, if you just hopped on, two ways to participate. If you use the Q&A function at the top of the toolbar to insert your question, or the raise hand symbol, Kim and I can go into the background and unmute you, or enable your mic so that you can unmute. So love to see your questions come through. All right, so Harrison, first question. I talked about it earlier, but a couple years ago, country transitioned from the IFR process, or insurance financial review process. That was, our reps were conducting hour-long meetings, really tying that conversation to the renewal. And as we rolled out CAR, we modernized that approach to having a 30-minute meeting with our client and tying it to not the renewal, but 4 months prior to the renewal to get away from that rate conversation. But what were your initial thoughts when Country rolled out the new CAR process?
Yeah, so if I'm being completely honest, I think when the CAR process kind of first got rolled out, I think it's what I originally felt was what a lot of probably felt as well. Maybe some of you were still feeling. I kind of felt like it was just another country was going to keep rolling out, trying to be different, and trying to help us in some way, but ultimately be something that would be here for a short period of time. And then we went back to that review process that we all had been doing for the last 5, 20, 30 years, or however long it's been around. I was definitely super skeptical on the whole CAR process and what it really was going to do for us. But like everything, decided to kind of give it a shot and take it for a look at it, see what actually the CAR process is all about. And by doing that, I just quickly realized that I do think it's one of the most valuable resources we have here today to be able to be effective with clients, to be able to set ourselves apart with clients, to avoid that rate conversation that we all need to have time and time again with all of our clients. But with that being said, I would say it was one of those things. It wasn't a quick transition for a lot of us here in Southern Nevada to move from whatever our traditional review process was to this CAR process. It was something that took some time, and realized that we wanted to kind of dive into it because the CAR process talks about having freeing up more of your time, relationships with clients, creating more cross sales and cross support, building more referrals. You realize, okay, this is actually going to do all that. Why would we not give it a try? So Southern Nevada, we started kind of breaking it down. We kind of did a couple different steps. This one I challenge all the reps on this call here to do is to break down your firm review process. I'm going to challenge you, write down what the pros and cons of your firm review process is. Write down what you think works super, super well when you're running the review currently. And then write down some areas that you think could have some improvement. And then once all of our reps in Southern Nevada did that, we started learning the CAR process. Started kind of trying to write down, hey, what are some of the pros of the CAR process that correlate to our current review process, whatever that means, the IFR process, or again, whatever your review process is. Started kind of comparing and contrasting. Quickly realized that the CAR process has all the things that we like in our current review process, but also helped us overcome some of the areas we felt like we were struggling in. And so we really started breaking each one of those things down, and then started learning what all 5 things in the CAR process do and how we could implement those into our business. In my district, they've all heard me talk about it in the past, what's called the butterfly effect. And so the butterfly effect is a small change in one area to make a large change in a different area. The metaphor for the butterfly effect is a butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil, and that's called the tornado of Texas. And what we really mean by that is we started looking at the CAR process, going, hey, there's 5 pages. Started implementing 1 page. What would that do for our business? What kind of change long term would that make? Yeah, make a dramatic difference. And so again, I challenge you all, write down your current review process. What works and what doesn't work. And then write down the CAR process once you start learning. What are the pros and cons of it? And realizing how that's going to affect you and your business. Start trying to push more towards kind of the CAR process. But again, very hesitant at the beginning, but once taking that time to learn it, really believe that it can be one of the biggest things for our businesses and has to be in that 2026 business plan.
Great, thanks, Harrison. I love how you said it really sets us apart here at Country to have that process. So, really good points there. We do have a lot of questions coming through, so thank you everyone for submitting your questions. If you came on late, use that Q&A function at the top of your toolbar. Mary's first question, she had some technical issues, so she missed the first part. But Harrison, you mentioned something about adding cars to your business plan. She said she entered how many cars that as far as her goal goes. Is there something more that she has to do or take away from that?
Yeah, so entering is gonna be the most important thing, but from there, trying to really break down on your own and what do those processes look like, and how many referrals you're gonna try to get from each car? What is your cross-sell number gonna look like from that car process? How many cross-sells you're gonna try to get, and how many referrals you're gonna try to get? So we're really trying to break everything down even farther. So breaking down, hey, here's how much you wanna do on a year, but what does that look like on a monthly, weekly basis, and how many calls you have to make to your client, try to set those up. Another big thing with the car process when it comes to that 2026 business plan is holding ourselves accountable when we're supposed to call clients. Our whole country IFR process, again, to clarify for our newer reps, that was about an hour-long meeting that we could do a week or so before the client's renewal came up, which made it very rate heavy conversations. The car process believes doing it different at different times, not doing it right when that renewal is coming up, doing it a few months in advance so you can't even talk about the rate because you don't know what the rate is yet.
Ben, this is
So making
Alicia.
sure that in your 2026 business plan, you write down as well, when are you gonna make these calls? How are you gonna hold yourself accountable? And what are you gonna do? And what are you gonna have your team members do? So again, on the 2026 business plan, you can't necessarily write all that down, but I encourage you, write that down somewhere else, on a piece of paper, break it down further, write it down somewhere else as well.
Great, thank you, Harrison. Yes, the car goal that bleeds into so many other goals within the entire holistic plan. So great question,
Okay.
Mary. We have another good question
let
here that came in
me-
from Damien. He is not an FA, so he's looking
Hey,
for
it's
some
an everyday question, I get
where
it.
he's missing his car.
I ask him those all the time.
He's not trying to sell during the car appointment, but he has been saying, as a Country Financial client, you can take advantage of your
Okay,
complimentary review with a financial advisor. I can set that up for you. Should I word it differently or not mention it? What are your thoughts on that, Harrison?
I think that's perfect. It's definitely something we need to mention, and going through that car packet again, deepening our knowledge on that car packet. It talks to us about how we're supposed to bring that stuff up and how we can discuss.
I have
The other thing
Orzanar
is,
on the
I
back
believe
line,
Chrissy's gonna share it at the end where to find all
and
these
she
resources.
told me what
So
she
one of
needs
the
you to help her
resources
with,
on there
and it left my
is
brain
the
about 3
25
seconds before you
minute
answered.
Video of Tori Forsyth going through the
yeah,
car process.
It's just, she needs help, she needs you to walk her through how to do something kind of
Video
basic.
Be boring at times, but I promise. Watching
Floors and more.
this is one of the most
Kelly.
impactful things, to see the types of
Okay,
questions
you're
he asks,
yeah.
to see how he transitions from one page to another,
Ready.
and what you're
Yeah.
asking right now
Okay.
comes to, that transition of being an insurance agent to referring a financial advisor. He does in this video and shows you the questions he asks, and also shows you how he recommends his team member and how we're a team member and we work together, which just can help all of us for insurance agents to try to refer our financial advisors, in our agency. So I believe that video is gonna be linked at the end, or at least shown where to get it, but I would encourage you to watch that video and it will show you exactly how to do that.
Great, thanks, Harrison. Yeah, so we will link that video out and all of the resources. So thanks for mentioning that one, Harrison. It's definitely a great resource to go through that. If you've seen it before, I would recommend rewatching it and some other micro learnings that we have on CAR. Okay, so our next question is from Brian Gunther, and he loves your gumball machine, by the way, Harrison. He is asking, are your reps using B-File, MCC, or are they having success with an in-house process?
Yeah,
To schedule? Sorry.
yeah, great question. So we've got a mix of reps doing all the above. We've got reps using e-file, reps using practice call center, reps using internal, employees to do all that stuff. Ultimately, what I think is important is it comes down to what you as a rep can afford to do and are able to grow into. Now, I'm a big believer in investment money to make money, so you've got to invest into your business, whether that's a file, an employee, or a call center. One of those is going to be important. If you're not using one of the three, you're shooting yourself in the foot long. If we have resources out here that are going to help you to educate you on how to grow, our reps who are using file, their own employees are the ones seeing the best success, I will say. Just because they know exactly when they're calling it, they're making those calls happen. And the client in your review quarterly meeting last month, we had B-File on here talking about how things can work together. So I think B-File is a great resource. Our reps who are using B-File right now are loving it. It took some time to get to what that looks like and building those processes out. But again, everything comes down to you have a process. So whether you're using B-File, call center, or an employee, you've got to have a process to make it work.
Yeah, really good point on having that consistent process. And it does, I agree, Harrison, that, you know, we've seen over the last year, it does take a little bit of time to get used to the B-File process or even the FCC, whatever it may be. But if you don't have that process in place, you're not even going to be able to perform the car. So really good points there, Harrison. Okay, our next question is from Larry. I would love to know more about how you actually do the preparation step. What is it you're looking for in the prep phase to help the actual car be more successful?
Yeah, so I'm going to answer that two ways. So I think first, the prep work comes on us as a rep. So make sure that you understand what the car process really is. So doing your own homework to know what pages need to come first, how to transition to those second pages, what questions to ask and when to ask them. So that's the first thing when it comes to that prep work is actually diving into the trainings that we have. Or sitting with your district leader, or sitting with a rep in your agency, actually using the car process and using it effectively. That's me the first thing. If we don't start there with the prep work, we're not going to be able to run a car process correctly. Because that's ultimately why some reps, in my opinion, have maybe tried the car process, go, it doesn't work. Because we take maybe the pages and we go, okay, we're going to use the 5 pages we have, but I'm just going to add my own flair on it. The big thing with this car process is we don't have to reinvent the wheel. You're not changing it. You're taking a process that's proven and that works. And again, country wouldn't spend all this time and energy promoting this car process if it's not proven to work and to work effectively. But again, in order to do that, that means we don't reinvent the wheel. We take the processes that are here and maybe add our own flair on it. But that's the first thing. Do your own prep work to learn how the car process works. And then once you do that, that's going to teach you how you, maybe if you have a team member, how you can have them prep a couple of things before that meeting even starts and have some notes on your car packet. So I have the car packet right here, but we're going to have some stuff already filled out that a team member of mine, when I was a rep, would have filled out before the meeting. So I know exactly what the client has, what I can get from them. And we're going to sit down with the client and go through page by page. So the prep work is really before you even meet with the client. It's learning what the process looks like, transition, learning how to go from page to page. And then from there, it's learning how to teach your team members what information to fill out before the meeting.
Thank you, Harrison. Yes, and we'll go dive a little deeper into the car packet if you haven't seen it for everyone. But yes, we built that car packet based on rep feedback and what reps have built in their own internal practices. So that is all based on rep feedback and can be utilized with your entire team. So thanks for touching on that, Harrison. Okay, we have another question that just came in from John. What has been your process in the car visit to move to referrals effectively?
Yeah, so I think that goes to the last page of the car packet. So the last page, which I think is one of the most impactful pages, and easiest page to implement into whatever your current review process is. And this is honestly the page that I started to get my reps to implement in. And then once they realized, oh, this actually works, they decided to start buying into the rest of the car process. But the last page is an emergency contact page. And so what that conversation looks like, if I'm sitting here, I believe it was John who just asked this question. If I'm sitting here and John's my client, I'm going to say, hey, John, one thing that my agency is doing to be a little bit different is I want to get 2 emergency contacts. So I don't want it to be your spouse or someone else in your household. Because God forbid someone calls me to let me know that your home burned down and you just got in a horrible car accident. And we we need to get this process going. I want to know who that individual is that's most likely going to be calling. So I have their name and phone number saved. Or if someone calls me, the police, someone else, or the other insured different vehicle, I want to go call that emergency contact and say, hey, can you get a hold of so-and-so? I'm trying to deal with a situation right now. Again, we're not going to give a bunch of information at that time, but I'm trying to get a hold of so-and-so because of potential emergency. And then from there, no one is hesitant to give us an emergency contact. Getting that name, the phone number, email if they have it, and then the home address. No one is hesitated because we just present it. We don't act scared when asking for it. We act like it's a normal part of our business plan to say, hey, I need 2 emergency contacts and here's why. And then once we get those emergency contacts, all we're going to do is call them and say, hey, Christy, my name's Harrison Martin, Fletcher Financial. John is one of my insureds and trusted me to give me your information as his emergency contact. I just want you to save my name and phone number in the event that you ever need to get a hold of me or I ever get a hold of you. That way we can touch base, God forbid an emergency ever occurs. And what that does for us now is that is the softest way to get a referral and call that referral, say, hey, John trusts me to do your insurance or to do his insurance, and put you as an emergency contact. So save my number, and then you never know, that person might just go, oh, well, if John trusts me to do his insurance, I would trust you to do my insurance, and I get a quote. And it's one of those things where you call 10 emergency contacts, you're not going to get all 10 to let you quote them, but we've been seeing 3, 4, maybe sometimes 5 of them will actually ask us to quote out their insurance. So it works, we build it into our process. I mean, you're not calling them to sell them. We're not trying to sell the emergency contacts. We're strictly asking them to save our number because we'll do the insurance job. And it works so well.
I love that your reps have seen success with that. And again, I'll bring up that emergency contact. We'll give you the link to the packet, but start utilizing that. That's great. Thank you, Harrison, for it looks like we are done with our questions here in the chat box. So if anyone has any more, please add them to the chat box. But I'll go over to the questions that I have for you, Harrison. We touched on quite a bit of them, so thank you everyone for participating. One question I do have for you: when you have a car conversation with your reps, how can you tell that a car is successful?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to the success of the kind of car appointments, I think there's a few things that when talking with my reps here in Southern Nevada that we started to realize. So clients leave our meeting a little bit happier, understanding what their insurance is covering, understanding what's going on in the market as well, to be able to be prepared mentally for some of the changes that are going to be coming. So as we know, we're having rate increases. This car appointment gives us an opportunity to talk to them. Hey, I don't know what's going to happen to your policy right now and 2 months from now when it renews. But here's what we're seeing in the market right now. Here's why I'm seeing a lot of insurance policies go up, why all these other carriers are seeing the same thing happening. So it allows our clients to leave with so much more education on insurance, which causes then when that renewal to come, so many of our clients are not shopping anymore because they already understand, they were already expecting to see an increase just by us giving them education on what's going on in the marketplace. And so that's been a huge success we're seeing, is way fewer clients calling with rate issues. And again, just for everyone who's on this call, to put it in perspective, here in Southern Nevada, we took a 40% increase at the end of last year. We took a 25% increase at the beginning of this year. So it's not like our clients aren't calling because we're not taking increases. We're taking increases here in Southern Nevada. So I don't want that to be misconstrued as why our clients aren't calling about rate increases when other people are taking big increases. Our clients are seeing big increases here, but we get that opportunity to educate them before the renewal comes up. So they have 2 months to think about that and prepare for that renewal. I think another big success that we're seeing and how we kind of tell that success is happening is the amount of follow-up we're getting from them. So a big point in the car process is I'm not trying to sell you right here, right now. I'm simply trying to gather.
So did you see the photos I added on the versions?
I haven't gotten that far yet. I don't know
The person with the most
exactly where they put them.
Well, I put them in there and his quote's already done.
Mhm.
I just wanted to find that email that I can't, let me look for that right now. And let me see if it's in the,
that
Should be
with
at least.
each appointment for these clients for life insurance, for the
Um,
umbrella, for the
Jason
for
Crow.
liability limit, for all sorts of other things, for the meeting with the financial advisor.
Uh,
I would say that's where we're really seeing a bunch of success. And then the amount of people getting emergency contacts and getting referrals. Our referrals have increased dramatically because of this.
They're gonna want a better picture of the roof.
I did that intentionally, cause I have the other one, but
Can we get that script of the emergency contact over to B-File? Brent, I think that's a really good idea. I will, chat with B-File to see if we could have them, do that emergency contact script. They do, just as a reminder, B-File does do that follow-up call for you. So if you're utilizing B-File, make sure that after you can connect that car, that you're sending back those follow-up calls for them to set up that second appointment for you. But yes, Brenna, I will get back to you on that as when I hear from the emergency contact. I don't think it will be an issue for them.
work the same.
Okay.
the roof.
You know what I mean? So I was just like, I just wanted to send out my emails like I could. But.
Also, if so, there are tweaks to
Access
make
to
with
my
a prospect
emails like that.
versus existing
So
client.
this person's email.
Yeah, so I do, some of the revenue comes
Is-
that are, or kind of that.
MR.
Client, just to gather information, so I would definitely say they are tweaking it.
Rickabye.
In those initial meetings, and it's
Rickabye.
just a prospect or more gathering information.
That's,
Goes back to what I
you
just
can,
said.
can you search it in there as opposed to type, type it in the search up at the top?
You're getting a ton of information, and so whether you win them or lose them in 6 months from now, when you go to
It's
call them.
emails.
Yeah, Rickaby,
and ask
Yeah,
for
Rickabee.
a call,
CMGhomeloans.com.
Yeah,
That
so
it's more educated
I'm-
on that person. You can bring up past stuff that they maybe mentioned or told.
He's buying a house.
So I think it does
Yeah,
work
so the
that way,
Or
binder-
financing.
because
yeah,
this is a client
refinancing.
that
So I
we're
sent him the
reviewing
binder
on
on this date, but do I submit it to underwriting?
Bind coverage,
No,
Yeah.
then you can't send a binder.
We're fantastic in that process. It just changed the script a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think David, if you're looking for guidance as far as, how you should
oh, you wanted the quote.
Oh, the
prospect.
quote? Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
Utilize.
But he already sent him the
It's
quote.
easy to-
So
Yeah.
what I wanna do is, what do I need to do for our side to country? Do I submit that to country right now? I have all the things that I need in there, right? Or do I'm trying to look on the times of when he wanted this.
Does he have a shed?
Yes,
Need a picture of the shed.
okay, I will put that.
Underwriting review is required.
Do we have a?
Do you need to send it to
in their
underwriting for
client
review?
folder to list an emergency contact, or would that just stay in their car sheet?
And then you have to find an
file? That's a really
application.
good question. So,
So.
Not that I know of,
Anything.
Eric, but I've heard.
Yeah, so
just-
the final one as well, not really on the spot. I don't know that whenever our new CRM rolls out, that we'll have a spot.
Actually, I'm
Thing
appraisal
I'll say
waiver.
where
and
we're doing
this
is my
one.
office. In the top right corner on Navigator, in the client folder is household notes. And that's where we put things like emergency contacts. Instead of putting it just in contact, again.
But you're updated with mortgage clause.
You've got no take, everything in those contact districts, always protect ourselves. But top right corner of the client folder is household notes. That's where we're gonna put things for myself, when I was rep for myself.
So does,
To be able to always
Okay.
go and access, so that's where we put their kids' information, so we would know.
So
how
they were supposed to bind
their
it
emergency
on
contact.
Saturday, but I haven't sent anything and I needed to send it in. Do I send that to underwriting or do I reach out to the mortgage person?
Notes. Anytime we were on a call, you kind of just click on those household notes, top right corner, and just say, see if there's anything we should mention to the clients. Maybe they were redoing their backyard, we're gonna put that in that top right corner. Client redoing backyard, make sure you ask them how it's going. But then emergency contact, we put in there.
is the RC?
Yeah, good advice there, Harrison. And as a follow-up, Eric asked where how are reps saving their car packets?
Yeah.
What have you seen, Harrison?
Great question. So what a lot of our reps are doing, because we're really here in Southern
Where's the
Nevada.
attachment? Did you attach this? It says you sent a binder.
In person, that means we are printing these We're
I sent the
printing
quote,
papers out
not
right
a
now. We're
binder.
sitting down with the client.
Um,
It says this, here is the replacement cost estimator, call binder.
So much better, and we've got to be persistent. Can't let our own fear that a client's gonna say no because the State Farm, the Allstate has just done stuff over the phone with them. You can't be afraid to offer that in person. And so because we're doing so many more person meetings, what my reps are doing is they're actually just scanning them a lot of times back to their email. And then in contact history, you can actually do add attachment. And so once you go to your printer, scan it back to yourself, save it to your laptop, whatever, you can add it to the attachment. Once you save contact notes, you actually have to go through, do the contact notes, click save, and then afterwards, click add attachment, and you can upload that attachment right there. So that's what we're doing for success. So it's easy to go back to. Some of our reps, some of the data are at client folders for every single client.
Thank you.
I think that works, but I also think that can get overwhelming as you add thousands of clients. So I like to save contact notes. But those are the two things we're doing.
Thanks for touching on that. Yeah, Eric, and they are fillable forms, so if you feel like if you're better at typing while you're having that conversation, you could do that and save it to your computer. But I think we're seeing a lot of reps print, scan, and then save to the contact. And I will tell you, the future of our CRM, we will have different options available, and then we'll have a field for that emergency contact. All right, thanks everyone for these questions coming in. Our next question is from Joe Newpol. What do you say to reps or agents that say it's hard enough to get people in for one appointment? Won't it be hard to get them to agree to come back to have a second appointment? And then there's a follow-up question, but I'll let you answer that first.
No, I think that's a great question. I think that's a giant fear that a lot of people have. I think what allows a lot of the reps who are getting those second meetings and the people to come back into the office is showing them that A, you're prepared. We're not here to waste your time. But then B, getting them excited and encouraged about whatever our second meeting is. It's all about how we present something. And so if I go through and discover that people look at life insurance and just say, hey, we're going to set that second appointment for sometime, I think it was next week, maybe a Tuesday, I think we said at 1 o'clock, to go through your life insurance. I'll see you then. That person doesn't, is not going to think that I'm super excited about this meeting. Where instead I'm more enthusiastic about that, saying, hey, Christy, I really appreciate our meeting today. I cannot wait to have that conversation about your life insurance. I appreciate you so much coming in and taking the time, because I know you're busy and I appreciate you respecting my time as well. I cannot wait for us to sit back down on Tuesday at 1:30 to go through your life insurance. I know you're going to find so much value in that meeting. Do you want me to send you a reminder for that meeting, or will you just remember that we're going to meet next Tuesday at 1:30? So again, people are always going to cancel. People are always going to back out, but I ultimately really a lot of times comes down to how we present, the excitement we bring, and what our team's follow-up process looks like as well also plays an impact in that. I will say the world right now, people are looking and wanting more of that relationship. Though we often don't think they want it, they are. More people are willing to come in when you give them that opportunity. Or even telling people too, like, and again, I know this is something that a lot of us maybe haven't done in a while, but the way to the most successful rep out there is either have them come in or offer to go to them. So sometimes in those second appointments, what we say to people is, hey, I really appreciate you coming into my office and going through this. I know we're supposed to meet next week, Tuesday at 1:30 to go through your life insurance. I'm actually going to be on your side of town. I would love to just come by your home or meet at a local coffee shop if you're choosing. And so kind of showing, hey, look, I'm willing to come to you as well. And I know that also may seem scary for some of our reps to go meet someone in their home or to go meet them at a coffee shop because that takes time and energy. But again, it's going to be a way more effective meeting getting it in person. And so those are just a few tricks I would encourage you to think about when trying to get that in-person second.
Yeah, those are really good tips. His second question, I know you touched on it a little bit here, but what are some of the main triggers that make you say I need to schedule that second appointment with these clients?
So I wouldn't say that it's something that whereas a rep would go, hey, I need to schedule that second appointment. It's more when we go through the packet and fill stuff in here. We make it so the client sees the, hey, you mentioned you didn't have it, but you did say you wanted to protect your mortgage, or you did say you wanted to protect your kids. You told me earlier you have a younger kid in the home, or you've got some student loans, and you said we should pay that off if something happens to you, so your family doesn't have to move. So what is the best day or time to set that appointment? So it's putting it back on them of, hey, it's something you need, it's something you wanted. It's not my idea. None of this is my idea. This is all you and your ideas. And so reminding them that as well also makes them more likely to show up for that second. It's making it their idea, not our idea.
I love that. And Mary commented on Joe's question here. I'm having the similar issue, she said, with the second appointment. The meeting gets set up and then many times they cancel or give me an excuse, but she does try to follow up to attempt to schedule a future meeting with the same client that canceled.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll say too is a lot of times those clients who end up canceling are also the clients who, in all honesty, if you would have tried to sell them life insurance right there, they would have told you, I need to talk to someone else, or well, let me think about this. Never got back to you on it, or got something in the underwriting that meeting, and probably would have been the one that never ended up following through on actually getting the issue. Is kind of what we see. And one other thing I'm going to say real quick with that as well, I would encourage you, take diligent notes about what people are saying. You're going to get the same rebuttals or objections, I should say, time and time again when it comes to people saying no to that second meeting or not being willing to do something. So take notes about what you're trying to say to overcome those and what works and what doesn't work. And then keep stats for yourself of, hey, here's how many car appointments I ran, here's how many follow-up meetings I tried to have, here's how many of those actually end up meeting. Keep all those stats so you can start tracking that stuff as you're building your 2026 and then your 2027 business plan. So you know how many meetings you need to have in order to be successful and hit the numbers you want to hit.
Perfect. Thank you so much for touching on those questions, Harrison. All right, we still have more coming through, so thank you, everyone. All right, JR Early, he said, do you set up a prospect folder, maybe using a special indicator for the emergency contact? It's a really good idea.
Can you say it one more time?
So do you have you seen any of your reps set up a prospect folder when they get that emergency contact and then use a specific indicator?
That's a great idea. Not something I've thought about. I don't know if any of my reps are doing that. Where I think there could be a benefit to that is then if they're in there as a prospect, they're going to get some of our drip campaign stuff going to them. So I do think there's great value in that idea. It's not something, when I was a rep, I did, not something that I thought told my reps to do, but definitely I think there's great value in that. So appreciate you giving that idea.
Yeah, thank you, JR. A great idea there. So adding an emergency contact as a prospect. Yeah, good point about getting that drip campaign if you're enrolled in the cross-sale marketing campaigns that we run. Okay, so Brandon has a question here. What reflects a card complete for report purposes? Is it updating the card date in the upper right-hand corner of Navigator by card completed in the contact history or both?
So it's all, to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's all to be about what the contact knows. They can put it and mark it in there correctly. So things like whether the appointment type has to say appointment, so you can't put in person, you can't put phone call. You got to actually put appointment. And then the way you mark the other boxes as well are going to be the most important parts to make sure that it actually gets logged correctly.
Yeah, that's correct, Harrison. And I will comment that the upper right-hand corner date of your car is going to be very important to make sure that is up to date. Because I know some right now, it's based on that 120 days prior to renewal. I know some reps actually change it. If, for example, you have a farmer out in the fields and they can't meet during that time when the car comes up. So making sure that upper right-hand corner area where you can change the date is going to be important, and especially as we move into getting our new CRM, migrating some of those dates over. It's a great
And then-
question.
And then one other thing to add there, and I'm sure we can send it out, but I believe, so it's like, it says method or whatever in the top right corner, I believe, contact knows. You gotta make sure that says appointment, contact role has to be sure, and then the line of business, I believe, is the other big one where we see a lot of mistakes. Even if you're talking about auto, property, financial advice, life insurance, whatever it is, you have to put other there, I believe. And then insurance review offered accepted in order for it to count. So if you put instead of other for line of business, you put auto, it might not track it perfectly. If you put method is a call or in person, it might not track it perfectly. It's gotta be appointment, insured, other, and then insurance review offered accepted, and then for the car completed, that would be the only one change in there.
Yeah, thanks for covering that, Harrison. We'll make sure to link out that job aid, because we do have a job aid, for those that are interested in revisiting it to make sure that you are documenting your cars properly. So we'll link that at the end. All right, so Larry has a question. Are you trying to schedule the next car meeting at this point, or do you always leave that to e-file, MCC, etc.?
Yeah, so what all of our reps are doing is they're gonna try to schedule the follow-up, if there's a follow-up needed, they're gonna schedule it before that person leaves the office. We're both gonna pull out our calendars right here, right now, get that on the books. But if there was no follow-up needed, and we're just gonna set up another car appointment 6 months from now, we're gonna transition that back to either a B file, an employee of ours, or, to the call center. Because again, with that being said, if you notate it correctly, you update that data in the top right corner, right next to household notes, everything will pull correctly when you pull B-file, that IFR list, car list, when call center pulls it, or when an employee of yours will pull it, they're now updated in that.
Yeah, really, really good point there, Harrison. Thanks for touching on that question. Okay, it looks like Eric has a question, in the upper right-hand right hand of the household notes. How does internal company use the categories public, private, authorized, or private? Good question, Eric. We did have Kim, thank you for adding that resource. We have a resource, that may be helpful to define how corporate uses those definitions that you included there. But I will have to actually follow up on that exact answer. So Eric, good question there, but hopefully that resource helps. Okay, I think that wraps up questions that we've received in the chat box. So I have a couple more questions for you as we still have 15 minutes left of our session. So if anyone else has anything else, please don't hesitate to add it into the chat box. But Harrison, you talked about the car packet, and how your reps utilize it. You also talked about the butterfly effect. So what if you were to make one small change and start using the car packet, start using the car process, what form would you recommend starting with?
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. I think the best form you can start with is that emergency contact. It's a page that's gonna give you the best success, or the quickest success right away. And hopefully by you seeing some of that success, you're gonna go, okay, maybe this whole car thing that country is still pushing to this day actually has a value. Gives me the motivation to want to learn what the other pages have to offer. I think this page right here is super important as well. One of my favorite things is at the bottom here is the client ID. I never really understood why he wants to get a copy of the client's driver's license until I watched that Troy Korscott video a while ago. And it talks in there, hey, getting that driver's license automatically gives you the client's height and weight. Again, the weight may be off a little bit here or there, but it gives us an idea of the client's height and weight. So right away, I'm going to know if this client's even going to qualify for preferred plus or standard. So give me opportunities when I talk about life insurance, I can give them a more educated idea of what something could cost before they have to give me any information because I had a copy of their driver's license.
Thanks, Harrison. Yeah, really good point about that client ID section on the client intake sheet. Also, you've had this form for quite a while, but made some updates and refreshed it to include under the home changes, the roof year. This is going to be really important. Not only is it important today, but moving forward to make sure that you are asking for the client's current through here, because we want to make sure that we are keeping track of those changes. And this is just one example of the client intake form of what you could utilize during the meeting to jot down any home changes, have your reps or your team members prep this for you, as well as that household update sheet. We have included an agenda as well, and then that product spectrum sheet really is to utilize at the end of the meeting to address all of the products and services that we offer and gain their interest in the products and services. So check out that car packet. We'll include that here at the end. We also talked about all of the resources that we have. Harrison, thanks for pointing out that Troy Korsgod in video. We have Joe Newfel. Joe Newfel's on the line. So hi, Joe. We have his video as well, and then other micro learning for you to get up to speed. Again, maybe if it's a review or to learn more about the car process. Okay, so we'll link those. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna add one more thing here too. So one of the things I just want to mention is the overall benefits of following the car process. Because I know we kind of touched on it sporadically throughout this conversation here, but a couple things I just want everyone to keep in mind on why I'm really going to challenge you to write down your current process, what works, what doesn't, and then start writing down how you can maybe implement the car process. Is a lot of the benefits that come with the car process. Outside of the emergency contacts, outside of getting clients more information, things like that, what the car process does by doing it away from a renewal gives us an opportunity to tell clients why we are different. It gives you an opportunity to sell country to them one more time when they're not worried about rates and don't know it. It gives you that talking about, hey, we've been #1 ranked for home claim satisfaction. We're currently the #1 ranked life insurance carrier in the entire country. You're going to talk about life insurance, it should be with us because of that fact right there. We have local adjusters here, all of us. You have myself as your rep if something ever comes up. And then ultimately you get to remind clients they can buy insurance to pay a claim in the future and to make sure that the pig bank being used is Country Financial Pig Bank. It's not your own personal pig bank or your own personal savings that you've been working so hard on. And so just remembering by holding the car process at the right time and doing the right steps gets us to just remind people why we're different here. What sets us apart, why the rate is not so important because of all the things that we do differently here. From the coverages we offer, the deductibles we offer, everything like that. So keep that in mind too when you're thinking about if you should or shouldn't use this car process. It gives you an opportunity to talk about how you're doing it.
Yes, thank you so much for adding that, Harrison. Really, really great points. Let's give Harrison a round of applause, a virtual round of applause. Thank you so much, Harrison, for joining us. Really good points here. And we got another question for you, Harrison. David asked if there a written script based on Troy's recommended way of going through the car. And the answer, David, is yes. I know, Harrison, you touched on the Troy's video is a great resource. Anything else that you'd recommend?
No, not necessarily. I know there's scripts on there. I would say work with your district leader, work with other reps. A lot of them have scripts. I'm a big believer in we use script for everything we do. The other thing too, country is encouraging us to bring team members on. And so as you bring team members on, by buying into this car process, it's going to be so much easier to teach them how to run a correct review as opposed to making up your own insurance financial review or whatever your review process is. Makes it a lot harder. So there are scripts out there, but work with your resources you have to help write more scripts. So that way everyone in your office is telling the same message.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. Well, thank you, Kim, for all your help today with the Q&A. Kim has added all of the resources to the chat box that we talked about today. So check those out. Thanks for joining us for our last 2025 car session. It's hard to believe we're wrapping this series up, but anything you want to leave them with, Harrison?
No, I just appreciate all of you coming on today. It shows you're trying to prepare yourself more and more for 2026. Again, I challenge you all to write down what worked for you on your review, where you struggle, and then start reviewing this car process. There's a lot of resources out here from us district leaders to the training department to help you grow and to help 2026 be as successful as you want it to be. So reach out to the resources you have. I'm here also. If anyone wants to ever reach out to me, by all means, shoot me an email and have a call.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Harrison, and thanks for everyone and all that you do out there. Good luck wrapping up your 2025.